Emma, why the fuck are you yelling at Mom? That is not fixing anything. I'm just frustrated. She talks, she needs something all the time, and I just can't fulfill her every wish. I know it is so hard, but she's your mom. Then you have to respect her. It's easy for you to say. Backing up, you are not my biological child as I. What do you mean? Your mom took care of like she were my very own, and I am proud to continue supporting you in taking care of her. That's not the same thing. Knock it off, Emma. The sect request header thing. I'm just like, you don't have to be yelling at Mama, and that's not fair for her. Shut up. You think you are, huh? Emma, please calm down. You're being unreasonable. Oh yeah. And you're in my house. Get out. You're not welcome here. I'm Chloe, married to Ethan for over 10 years. We have both been best friends since high school. Seriously, marrying this guy we got hitched in late 30s, early 40s couple let's all just gawk/raise a glass of wine together was the second best decision I ever made. He add data money he makes selling it dear keep us here. None o' this. Me new leaf to use less. Make that 95% happy. I grew up in an orphanage and I went without a lot of things as a kid. I missed out on the kind of love and encouragement most kids receive from their parents, this thing that I always knew was supposed to mine. Well, he made a liar out of me when I met my husband. He taught me the meaning of family, and we made a beautiful life together. Lucas and I have raised our son, Oliver boy, to blooming a very gentleman like his father. And if there was one thing that made my husband even more of a blessing to me, it would have been his parents. Fortunately, my in-laws took me under their wings and treated me like the daughter they never had. They never excluded me, were always nice and respectful. They have given me so much love and support for as long as I can remember. And my father-in-law died a couple years ago. For the entire family, it was a difficult period. It was so hard to see my husband and his mother in such pain. My father-in-law was a gentle, kind man and everyone who knew him felt his loss. She knew how to gather her strength back, and she tried, but my mother never returned with me. But then she ultimately shifted and settled with Emma, my sister-in-law, who was in the same city. While it was a hard thing for her to do, we also knew that this would be the best thing too. We remained in touch regardless of her distance and tried to visit whenever we could. We called her every weekend to make sure she was okay. To us it was important she knew we loved her, and that, wherever life took her, there would always be a place here for Irene in our family. The day came when, visiting my mother-in-law, I walked into an argument. Only Emma, my middle brother's wife, him, was screaming at our mother. I couldn't even distinguish what, and so loud and angry that she was saying. I saw the hurt and pain in my mother-in-law's eyes, and it broke my heart. Emma was on the verge of shoving our mother, and I stepped in to stop it. Emma, why are you screaming at Mom? That won't solve anything. I'm so frustrated. All she does is want, and I can't have to stick around fulfilling her every wish. I know it may be hard, but she is still your mom. Man, you gotta have some respect for her. It's easy for you to say, I'm the one daughter of her flesh and blood, not you. What do you mean? And despite all the ways that I fit in with your mom, I have said pass on you keeping him, and you pick up money from a whore. That's not the same thing. You're not as intimidating and smug yourself, Emma. I'm just trying to help, and it is unfair of you to get mad at your mom. Shut up, Joe. You're the one that thinks she's your favorite, huh? Emma, please calm down. You're being unreasonable. Oh yeah. And you're in my house. Get out. You're not welcome here. Emma finally lost it, and I knew, closed my books, quickly called Mother to come outside with me get coffee. It was not, of course, about the coffee. I needed to talk to her, one-on-one, just so I could begin an investigation into what had happened between her and my husband. Emma, however, and perhaps trying a bit to passive-aggressively diffuse it, gave me the most condescending look you have ever seen as she got up out of there. It was like our mother's well-being didn't even matter to her. My mother-in-law used the argument to tell me that she was really uncomfortable living with Emma. Emma just wanted her out of the picture and had been inventing reasons to be angry at her. My mother-in-law wrote it off as a mistake and didn't want to be a burden, so she never told us anything about that letter. She only dropped a flower vase that day and just created some cracks in it. But she did, and you almost screamed in her face, Emma. That shocked me and made my blood boil. Emma could never do that to her mother. In that instant, I knew exactly what needed to be done. He goes and tells Emma all this. I had spoken to my husband about it. Husband and I gleefully brought my mother into our home to help, as we had really missed her being a part of our household. We had to get used to it at first, but we made the best of our new situation really quickly. I really missed my mother-in-law and could tell that she was a lot happier about being where I lived. By this point, Oliver was still pretty young and loved having his Aunt Sophia there too. He can't cuss with her or hear what she says. Not that looking after our mom was a cakewalk. Then, I put my dream on hold for it. I had always dreamed of opening my own nice little cafe, and I thought perhaps that looking after Mom might set back the clock a bit on me doing so. However, I was doing that for her and our family happiness. I never felt like she was just my husband's mom, fair daughter. She is mine too. For Emma, on the other hand, she turned a deaf ear to us with as much pity. She never once called to see how our mom or anyone were doing, and she never showed. Yet make regular trips to visit Emma anyways, albeit with a soaring relationship. She was difficult to be around in the aftermath, still a lot of tension between us. But for our mother, we tried to keep the peace. Even still, no matter how hard we tried, nothing seemed good enough in Emma's eyes. One day Emma come to see us and tell everyone that for a long time we have been abusing our mother. Those were the charges that surprised me. They are totally false. The only problem is that my mother-in-law was still alive and healthy, nicely taken care of by us. But Emma would not listen, and she told me and my sister that we were bad children to our mother. She didn't stop there either. She was going to spread her lies about us and encourage our neighbors and friends alike that we should be reported to the police. I was mortified and chagrined that she had the nerve to go so low. The police did eventually show up to our house questioning accusations that Emma made, and after speaking with us as well as my mother-in-law, they were able to easily see there was no merit to what she claimed. Then they departed harmlessly, but the damage had been done. Emma was no longer welcomed in our lives after that incident. She had stepped over a line that could not be retraced. She also decided she was going back to Chicago, and then of course wanted our mother-in-law, who had already been taking care of doped-up Mark there, into it all again. We were devastated that our own family could be ripped apart like this, but we had to say no. We had selling track on Emma and couldn't rely on her anymore. On that evening, mother-in-law made sure Oliver was soundly asleep before she tried to talk seriously with us. So that was the reason behind all of a sudden Emma wanted her to be back there. She must have an idea for this as well. I was shocked, scared, and intrigued all at the same time. What do you mean, Mom? What's going on? Emma eyed the even later inheritance of your father, and honestly she believes that keeping me alive long enough will allow her to claim it. That's ridiculous. She doesn't even look after you. She is just in it for the money. I know, but Bull Inn is very persuasive, and she has been trying to get me to live with her. That's terrible. Why would she do that? It is all about money, unfortunately. I literally had no idea what we were inheriting. I'm sorry, honey. We were keeping it a secret. We had a both to read you and Emma. You should be able to get at the money on your 30th birthday. It was meant for your future little family. Mum's eyes were wet when she talked about our dear late father. I was emotional too. That mama deserved a big, warm hug and all the gratitude in the world for raising her child with so much love. There was something about it that gave her the strength to keep speaking. Your sister found out about the fund. We screwed up since that day, something changed in her. It was so painful. Anil Kapoor and Sridevi to get her married, doing everything for money. Whenever I spoke with her, she would want to know how was she supposed to get into that fund earlier. Mom, I'm sorry you've been going through it by yourself. Your little sister was refusing to take her medicine. She still is. I love her, but is she really just that kind of person? Those looks were exchanged by my husband and me, and we both thought the same thing. Emma was about to turn 30 by then. She desperately wanted that fund, and thus, she made a decision to take it as fast as possible. But Mom, I don't get it. If she was getting the fund anyway, why all that trouble? All she has to do is wait. You just want to stay here with us, don't you? Of course, sweetheart, but not so fast. Wait, no. She thought I was holding the purse strings too tight there. What? Why would she think that? You actually cut her out. No, of course I didn't. But by her screaming at me and mistreating, she thought I did. Well, the reality is your dad was also the one person who knew what his will said. He handled all the finances, and I was thrilled to not have a part. But aren't the one Emma thinks you are? Yeah, and she thinks I'm hating on her when I talk to. Money was the only thing that mattered to her now. Mother, I'm very sorry that you are going through this battle. We will try to keep your place away from all harms. There was a heartfelt hug between myself and Brittany. At that point, our little trio with Oliver took her snake up to be one of the best child products for travel, regardless of whether we got any funds or not. I was scared but relieved that Mom finally trusted us enough to tell the story. Having to bear so much on your own must have been a serious strain. After that, we saw Emma all the time, and she incessantly pestered our mother to live with her. She began to hang out at our house, trying to win us over with various upkeep promises, that she would be a better caretaker of my mother or she will never yell at her again. But our mother kept turning us in, denying that she lived there. Emma was true to form and did whatever she could as soon as it became apparent that our mom wasn't giving back her trust. Emma had come over one day, and this time she decided to start borrowing a little money. She promised that she was only asking for $200,000 and swore never to seek our help with anything else ever again. We asked her what the psychological consultation was for. She said that it is personal and refused to explain. Of course, none of us had that kind of money. We had no idea how much we would be receiving from our father's fund. Plus, we had a kid to raise. Emma had turned into a great burden on our mother, and I was so bothered by it. As reality settled with my loving sister, she was receiving help from us, and Emma, we really needed her to stay away because she was starting to spiral out of control in both mental and physical health terms. Just when I was down in the dumps and beating myself up, my husband saved me. He reassured me that he was going to resolve the issue. Emma stopped coming to our door a few days later. I interrogated my husband, who didn't tell me all the details of his activities. He said he was able to scrape together some money from others and went into his savings account. He never wanted his sister to be a burden on us, and he then took things in hand by himself. On the one hand, I was glad that it wasn't about me, but on the other, I just felt really sorry for him. I most wished that he didn't have the stress of all the financial issues to deal with, but not a lot we could do. At least Emma did get out of our hair. Ethan and I have been struggling for a long time. We were just about scraping by financially. He ended up using a loan to pay for some of his living expenses, and Ethan lost more hours because he now has even less money. I took almost all of my saving dedicated to the cafe, and Ethan apologized so much. I would have liked to lighten him up a bit, but that wasn't going to happen. We had also agreed that we would survive. Several months later, and a miracle landed in our laps. It was my 27-year-old husband's birthday, and we had made up our minds to keep it low-key with a simple party at home. All of a sudden, we were told by the lawyer responsible for my late father that fund was available for us to claim. When we went to the lawyer's house, Ethan and I were confused as all hell, so wanted answers. We were completely shocked to discover that our father had left us over $1 million in his will. None of us had any idea that he was hoarding away this huge sum over the years. He was doing some very smart real estate investments, so it is amazing to find out how much of an awesome legacy he left for us. As we started dealing with our father's estate, some disturbing information on Emma came to light. Lo and behold, she had been squandering a great deal of her own funds by means of gambling. All the while she was so fish to hide that reality from all of us. It turned out our father had found about her addiction, and he'd threatened to write Sophia off the will if she didn't do anything about it. Her recent actions made us realize she was not as assisted as we had thought. Maybe that was why our father cut her off too, giving us the money 3 years sooner than he had intended. When it turned out that she did lose her inheritance for good, Emma was enraged. He wrote a check to keep her from returning and asking for more money, thought just what she had received was not deserved in the first place. Even worse, she also spent all of this money on gambling. We were mad as hell, but now we knew, or thought, that she had a problem, so this is where they come in, I suppose. She was taken to a place that we were told was akin to rehab. For my part, I was finally able to make real the ambition of opening a coffee shop. I was lucky. I used the money left to me on inheritance rights, and with that put a down payment on great space and got what gear I needed started. It was a lot of work, but I loved every minute of it. I put a great deal of time into developing my recipes and designing our store to feel warm for anyone who came in. This was also super exciting news for my little family. My own husband did the books and marketing with me, while Oliver loved to stop in after school whenever possible and help behind the counter. It was also a beautiful scene seeing our mother making and decorating the place. It was a real family effort, and we shared the same sense of accomplishment. Oh, and thank the good Lord up above, our dear father was to be commended in making it all possible.